Hello everybody, hope you're all doing alright. Edge0626 here, and as we all know, EBCW 2K20 has come to an end, but that does not mean that wrestling in general is going to be off the channel. As I said before, I'm basically going to be, every Friday now, I'm going to be giving you guys one or two, depending on how many I feel, wrestling-related commentaries about thoughts I have about the wrestling world, as well as numerous other things in wrestling, so I hope you enjoy that. And of course, I'll always provide a little wrestling gameplay in the background. This match was from 2K16. This is the Primetime Players going up against the Hollywood Blondes, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, essentially. I think when I did EBCW for 2K16, I think I did it like World Tag Team Champions and then just Tag Team Champions for SmackDown. So that's who they'll be facing. So it was a hell of a match. It took me a while to get used to some of the controls because this was the first match I played in a couple of months. So forgive some of the awkwardness of the match in the background. So, today's topic. It feels nice to be a fan of wrestling again. For those of you who don't know, I took a hiatus from watching most of WWE's main programming for several years, going from after the Royal Rumble in 2017 until basically more or less sometime in 2020. I decided, fuck it, let's just watch Raw and SmackDown again. And I have to be honest with you, I mean, it feels good to watch those programs again. For those of you who don't know, I stopped watching because of the John Cena winning his 16 championship. As ridiculous as it may sound, I will probably do a commentary more in-depth about my feelings about that feud he had with AJ Styles, which I don't think should have ever happened, but that's just my opinion. Essentially, I was kind of lost. I wouldn't say lost, but I was kind of just I don't think burnt out's the right word either. I was just sick of constantly having my intelligence insulted when watching WWE programming, whether it would be Raw, SmackDown, the pay-per-views, and so on. I was just fucking sick of it, so I said, fuck it, let me just stop watching most of WWE's programming. NXT, I don't really count as WWE, or at least I didn't at the time, because I felt like NXT was its own separate entity, and I very much enjoyed NXT, so I stopped. I kept watching NXT because I really enjoyed it, and of course that's when NXT's programming was really starting to hit the fourth gear, or whatever the term is for that terminology is. But they were really starting to come into their own with everything going on, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And then of course other programmings came, like NXT UK, 205 Live I think was starting around that time, or it was just starting, so I was watching a lot of that. And of course, my usual indie promotions like Impact, ROH, and a few others. I forgot at the time what else I was watching, but I think I'm watching even more now than when I was back in 2017. And, I really started to watch Raw and SmackDown again because Edge was back. And of course, Edge got injured again, so I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just keep watching the programs. And not really, I hadn't really watched the pay-per-views. But I was like, I'll just watch the programs because it's something to watch, and not like I really give a shit about what's going on anyway, I just care about Edge. And then that slowly turned into, this storyline's kind of intriguing. The stuff on SmackDown with Roman Reigns is actually intriguing now that he's back. I guess I'll start watching SmackDown again. And, but yeah, I was just really... I had really soured on the product, and I guess over the last couple of months I've been watching the programming, and I there's a switch that clicked in my head, and I'm just like, I really only watch Raw and SmackDown and anything else on DVR anyway. I can always fast forward the shit I don't care about. So instead of having to sit there and watch basically 3 hours of programming live every night with commercials, and I was kind of doing this anyway, I would watch it on DVR, and then if I didn't care about something on the show, I'd fast forward through it all. Which is what I was doing when Edge came back anyway, because the only segments I would watch on Raw was Edge stuff. Because I'm such a big Edge fan. So, and now, fast forward from that point on to the Royal Rumble, which was really the first pay-per-view I've been able to sit down and enjoy, you know, a pay-per-view that I wasn't hanging out with any buddies or anything. And I just was so happy, you know, because at that point I always used the Royal Rumble as the show that is the anniversary show for me when I started watching wrestling. Because when I really started to watch wrestling and actually care about it, it was around the time of the Royal Rumble or a little bit after the fact. But I always considered the Royal Rumble to be like my anniversary show of when I started to watch wrestling, or when I considered myself to be a wrestling fan. And the Royal Rumble was fantastic. The overall show was awesome to watch, and I can't remember the last time I had felt that happy. Now, granted, Edge won the Royal Rumble, so that kind of had something to do with it, but even the Women's Rumble with Bianca Belair. Now, granted, I stopped watching wrestling with WWE when before they started doing the Women's Royal Rumble. So I had never seen a Women's Royal Rumble until that point. So I was like, oh, this shit's actually pretty cool. I mean, I liked the fact that they were doing all that. I wasn't a fan of the 24/7 championship stuff in there, but I liked the overall Women's Rumble, and, you know, Rhea Ripley and Bianca being the last two, with Bianca winning. Bianca was my pick anyway. And then Edge, who was my pick from the get-go because, you know, I'm a big Edge fan. He won the Rumble at number 1, and I'm like, holy fuck, I did not expect that. I really did not. I thought Daniel Bryan or someone else was going to win it, but I was in absolute shock as to what I had seen. And I remember having this thought to myself saying, wow, if I died tomorrow, if I died in my sleep tonight, at least I can die happy. You know, that's a dark thought to have, but at the same time, it was just the feeling I was having at the time, where it's like, God, I could, for whatever reason, die in my sleep and not wake up the next morning. But at least I know I would die happy, knowing that I had watched such a fantastic wrestling program. And it was when the Royal Rumble came that I had this, I don't want to say epiphany, but I was just like, wow, you know, being just so happy and being able to enjoy these shows again. It felt good to be like a legit wrestling fan again. Not saying WWE is the end-all be-all. Granted, there are so many other programs out there, but the point I'm trying to make is, after years of having such bitter, extremely bitter feelings towards WWE and how they were running their product, I realized that I can technically still watch the product, and I more or less knew what was going on anyway, as I have said in the past, because I follow so many wrestling personalities that I didn't need to watch the product to know what was going on. And even then, like, a lot of these wrestling personalities I was following was also kind of helping me sour on the product, because, you know, everyone that does YouTube with the wrestling is so overly negative for the sake of getting the views, which I understand. They got to do what they got to do to make their money. I just felt like that had something to attribute to what I was doing at the time. Because once I stopped watching WWE, and since a lot of people were covering WWE, I stopped watching them more or less, and I stopped following what they were doing because I wasn't watching the product anymore. So I feel like a lot of their negativity kind of influenced my own negativity, and that's kind of attributed it as well. But I guess now I'm back, more or less. I mean, like I said, I can always not watch what I don't want to watch. I fast forward through at least a quarter of Raw every Monday, at the very least, because I don't give a shit about what's being presented, because I don't care about it. So it's much easier than just having my intelligence insulted all the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this first little wrestling commentary I have, and I hope you guys come back next week for the next one, and I'll see you guys on the next uploads.